There are folks out there who are really good at getting eyeballs onto video feeds, like the right thumbnails, the right topics, all of that. But that's very different from optimizing a video channel to target an ICP and convert that ICP into taking action, into moving to the next stage of your funnel. And those can be opposing forces, right? If you're a business owner, maybe a CMO, and you hire somebody who has expertise around TikTok or YouTube channels or something like that, you're actually hiring the wrong expertise, because they're going to be really good at building subscribers, but it's going to take you a while and you're going to spend a lot of money before you realize that those subscribers don't convert into customers.
Influential and thought-provoking minds in marketing, sales, and business. The Business of Marketing Podcast.
Welcome again to the Business of Marketing. I'm A. Lee Judge. The marketing world is getting rocked right now as we try to understand how to get our brands and content noticed by our customers, specifically in the face of AI. Traditional SEO is changing in ways that are making yesterday's tactics possibly obsolete. But luckily, there are some people, the same people who are SEO experts, are leading the way to figure out what's next. After all, if SEO is their business, then it's their top priority to understand where SEO is going next. So today, I have one of the top SEO experts in the industry to give us guidance and hopefully clear up some of the mystery of what we need to do next. So joining me again today is Dale Bertrand. Hey, Dale.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation because no matter where you are in marketing, the way things are changing, the speed at which things are changing, marketers really need some guidance on this. And I know you're my go-to guy, so I wanted to talk to you about this stuff.
Well, things are definitely changing quickly. I know my head is spinning, and I'm getting questions. Like when I do workshops, I was at a marketing conference last week, and getting a lot of questions about what's changing, what's next, what direction should my career be going, like as a marketer. So there's a lot to think about.
Not just what I'm doing today, but what is my career going to do with these changes? So let's get into it then. Every day, more consumers are turning to AI chats for search. I noticed that lately you've been kind of rebranding your area of expertise as future-focused SEO. So what does that mean, and does it have anything to do with this speed of change?
Yeah, well, we've been doing future-focused SEO for a long time, but that's really about looking at where SEO is going, so skating to where the puck is going, rather than just where it's at. And we all know that technology is changing pretty quickly, and it's been changing quickly for a while, but now it just feels like it's just accelerated so quickly. People want to know that when they're investing in their brand, their website, their content, or investing in your career as a marketer, that you're investing in something that's going to give you ROI a year, 2, 3 years out.
So we're doing this investing, and when marketers have to go to the table and ask for budget, I think that my personal belief is that companies need to lean into multiple formats of content, and those who do that will gain a competitive advantage. And I've heard you speak on content like video and podcasting and interactive content. So what do you think about going beyond text when it comes to this new era of search discoverability?
Well, it's really a must, because we're entering a new era, like driven by AI, where our customers have access to AI tools that they're going to use to get the answers that they need and to educate themselves around the products and services that we sell. The era that we're exiting, that we're leaving, I call it like the inbound marketing era, where what we were all incentivized to do was to write top of funnel informational blog articles. So these are like educational blog posts that would, in practice, or in theory and in practice, educate our customers, help them, and give them an opportunity to get introduced to our brand, our product, our services, and then we can move them farther down our funnel and hopefully convert them into a customer. But those days are really starting to wane and eventually will come to an end. Like there was this short period of time when it was easy to capture people's attention with long form content. And now we're seeing that if you're creating long-form content, you're really working for Google or OpenAI or some other AI platform, because you're basically creating their training content. Instead, you want to be thinking about like, what type of content could I be creating that is not just existing online to train these large models, and also how are you building an audience around your brand and your content, which is thinking like a publisher instead of thinking like an SEO or an SEO writer, even worse. But that's that's really tough because, you know, we've all been working for Google for a while, but we just kind of didn't admit it. We've all heard the advice, you know, don't write for Google, write for your customer. But we ignored it. There's a reason why we wrote, you know, we went from 500 word articles to 1,000 to 2,000 to what, 5,000, 50,000. Like, where does that go, right? Like that never really made any sense. But now we need to get real about, because stuff is getting real, whether you know we like it or not. We need to get real about building content for our customer. And what does that mean? And what does it mean to act like a publisher with a publisher's mindset, where we identify our audience, figure out what they want, figure out what content formats, what topics, so that when they want to know what's up in our content area, they come to us as opposed to going to Google as an intermediary for our content.
You know, I've only stepped into your lane from a speaking standpoint one time, and that was probably about 5 years ago at Content Marketing World, where I did a presentation called Content for the Robots. And I had no idea what was coming at the time, because to me at that time, robot meant, you know, for SEO, for crawlers who were crawling content on your websites. I won't claim to have foreseen where we're at now, creating content for the robots, but my theme then was, you know, create it for the humans, but something that the robots like. And now I think we've, as you just kind of implied, we've kind of gone overboard with that, to where maybe we're at the tipping point. We have to focus on the humans, because the robots are going to robot. They're going to do what they're going to do. We've been working for them for years. Maybe now is the time to focus on creating content for humans first. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's some basics we want to do to make sure that the crawlers for the various search platforms, AI and traditional platforms, can see your content. But beyond that, the way I think about it is that these AI systems are doing the best they can to find people the answers that satisfy whatever they're looking for. So we could skip ahead to the punchline and figure out what information our customers need when they're making a buying decision, make sure that we're publishing that information in the right format, which is less likely to be written format going forward, and then let the search engines find our content when our customers are looking for it. Or, and this is the important part, a lot of times with AI platforms, it's not responding to a query or answering a customer question. It's more along the lines of, like, we want our brand or our products to come up in conversation. A quick example here, like, imagine if I got engaged yesterday, right? And I'm going to work today and I'm telling my friends, hey, I just got engaged, I'm getting married, and everybody's happy for me. The first thing they're going to do is start giving me advice. They're going to tell me how to deal with my parents-in-law, where to get married, how to save some money on my wedding budget, all this stuff, all this advice that's unsolicited. It's not an answer to any question that I ask them. It's just relevant to the conversation. So if you think about our customers going to AI chatbots and asking questions about problems they have, or maybe a destination that they're going to, or a product or service that they're looking for, like all kinds of conversations, maybe some personal issue they're having, we want our products, our brands to get mentioned by AI in those conversations when relevant, whether our customers are asking or not. And that's really a different paradigm from search, where we think of queries in traditional search engines like Google. We think of queries as questions, and we think of our pages, our content, as answers to those questions. And that still exists. Like, people are doing that in AI platforms, but they're also having conversations. And we want to make sure that we come up in conversations and we're able to educate the large language models in AI through their training to mention our brands.
Now, Dale, you just opened up a whole new thought channel for me there, because when you mentioned that unsolicited advice, I remember not too long ago, past week or so, I was having a conversation with a chat, and it actually said, have you considered? And it gave me more options. And I realized from what you just said, in that case, no keyword that I would have said would have been into the chat. Like it didn't come from me. I didn't search a specific phrase or question. It actually thought about what I was saying, thought about our whole conversation, and gave me suggestions of what I should look for, what I should consider. That's way different from what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's about relevance more than it's about the right answer to the question or delivering an answer to the question. So we want to make sure that our brand, our products appear online in the right context. And that's really online adjacent to the topics that we want our brand, our services to come up for. And the more frequently they come up, then more likely we are to get mentioned when those topics are discussed. And that's really what it comes down to.
So, as people are watching or listening to this, they're going to probably be side searching or side Googling to get their clarity of what's going on. And I'll say that, you're the first person that I heard use the term geo, because you're going to be looking for different terms and trying to define, we're all trying to define what's happening right now. And so I heard you use the term geo for generative engine optimization, and that
Yeah.
was over a year ago. So since then, we've heard people try to redefine SEO as, geo or artificial intelligence optimization or
Yeah.
AIO. And
The one I like is search
search
everywhere
everywhere
optimization.
optimization. That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. That's my favorite, is search
Yeah.
everywhere optimization. So I was gonna ask you, what's your take? But that's your take, huh?
Yeah, and the reason why is because there was a while where we were thinking of generative engine optimization as something different
Hmm.
from traditional SEO. That's
Hmm.
when you were optimizing for like traditional Google search over on one side and then ChatGPT on the other side. But they are merging. Like we know that Google has introduced an AI mode. So you can, when you're searching with Google, you could basically ask follow-up questions or have a follow-up conversation in an AI mode that feels very much like ChatGPT. And then on the other side of it, ChatGPT and all of the other AI tools out there are adding search tools so that when the AI thinks that it should go to the web and find some resources, it does that. So these two tools are merging. So then what search everywhere optimization becomes about is it's still SEO, but we're adding a bunch more to it that's quite significant. In addition to making sure that you rank well with traditional search engines, you also want to make sure that your brand or the messages that you want to get out there are relevant to the right conversations. And that's all about relevance. So your brand is relevant, your products are relevant, but also the pages on your website and the content that you're producing is relevant. So it'll get mentioned and recommended by AI search engines. But that's all about relevance at
Love
the
this.
end of the day. That's the way to think about it.
If you're a marketer struggling to create content that's truly unique to your brand, here's the key. Your experts and executives are your most valuable content assets. Conversational content like videos and podcasts featuring your team stand out above all other content. So, instead of creating content that sounds just like your competition, start leveraging the unique voices inside your company. Thought leaders and authentic conversations build credibility and engagement. At Content Monster, we specialize in remote content production, meaning we coach your people to be comfortable on camera, then we capture and produce high-quality videos and podcasts featuring your team and customers. No need for expensive production crews, long production plans, or complex setups. Want to see how it works? Visit contentmonster.com today to learn more. How does relevance play in this? Because I'm about to go on a few weeks, months, maybe years rant about this debate of quality versus quantity. Because I believe that now, especially with AI tools, we can have both. We can have quality and quantity. And I've been preaching quantity since the beginning of Content Monster. That's the reason why the company is called Content Monster, because we were creating a lot of content. And I think now we're going to win because of that. Or now my personal brand, the company's personal brand, is rising because we've always believed in being everywhere, while others were saying, no, create one piece of beautiful content every now and then, make sure it's perfect. And that might have won for a while. But now I'm going to lean further into, you can create quality content, but you still have to have quantity to be everywhere and to almost flood the zone to be recognized. And that can, I think, still be done with this intent that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think about it is you're going to have an easier time if you choose a niche audience to go after. And I don't know what audience you guys are going after with the content that you're creating, but if you identify a niche audience and you understand them or learn enough about them that you can serve that audience, then we have a definition for high quality content. Because a lot of times what's going on is everybody agrees and nods their head that we need high quality content. But what does that mean? Does it mean you got the spelling right? Does it mean that like it's structured beautifully or the beautiful graphics in it?
I've
And
got
I'm going to
strong
tell you
opinions about that, but go ahead.
what I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm about to go on my rant, is that it's content that's suited for the purpose.
Yes.
Like you get the outcome that you want from your content, and
Yes.
there's lots of different types of content, lots of different outcomes you might expect. The outcome that I'm recommending folks shift from, like there was an outcome where we wanted to get as much organic traffic as possible, and that's still valuable. There's still a lot of organic traffic out there to be had, so I want to be careful, even though it's going down. It's still valuable. There's still a lot out there to be had. But you really want to start thinking around like, how am I building an audience around my brand? You could imagine, like for me, I check the weather every now and then whenever I care, and I go to the same website every time because that's where I go when I want to check the weather. So for your brand and the content channels that you're curating, that you're building, is there an audience that goes to them when they want a certain type of information? Or are you still operating in the old content mindset that the way you get eyeballs on your content and the way that you build visibility for your brand is to hopefully get some impressions from Google, and that's it? Right? Like that sounds lazy and crazy now that we say it out loud, now that it's starting to go away. But it was so effective for so long that we're all drunk on free, effective, organic traffic from Google. And Google's like doing the rug pull as we speak.
Yeah, yeah. And my part of that rant is based on, I've been hearing the word intent from you. It's influenced us a lot in how we create content even is, Dale says, focus on the intent of your customer. What can you do? What can you provide for that customer in your content? And when it comes to this discussion of quality, we've seen too many of our clients confuse production quality with informational quality. Like they'd rather have a Hollywood produced commercial that they spent lots of money on to get a beautiful piece of content, but then it says nothing to their customer. It doesn't solve a customer problem. It doesn't answer their intent when they're looking for them. They call that quality. Meanwhile, we've done competitive analysis with their competitors who are doing things like podcasts and shorts. They're answering questions quickly. And they have this volume of content that's showing up in search in AI that's just answering questions and being valuable to their customers. And they're putting out so much more content and they're winning against those who are still old school, perceiving quality as, a Hollywood camera. And so I think as you and I both dig through this change, we're going to see those who are able to sustain that high intent, high customer centric content. Those folks are going to win if they can do more of it.
Yeah, what I would say is like the more you know about your customer, I call it customer intimacy, the easier it will be for you to create the right content. And when we're talking about intent, we're talking about search intents. That shift from the old SEO to search everywhere optimization, like part of that shift is shifting from keyword targeting to intent targeting. So once you understand your customers and you understand the information that they need when they're making a buying decision, you'll understand the search intents, the things they're looking for. They need to know the cost or the delivery time or what the payback period is on whatever they're buying. There are things that are unique to the type of product and service you sell that your customers need to know. And if you can build the right content that satisfies those intents, and I always call them intents that begin with a verb. So it's something like apply for a mortgage with a decent interest rate, or compare airline travel cards. Those are the types of intents we're talking about. But you discover those intents by talking to your customers, figuring out what it is, what information they need. and then satisfy those intents with the right format, the right topics, whatever it is. And that's how you build an audience around your content and convert enough of that audience to make it worthwhile for you.
Well, SEO is a mature practice to where we have tons of information on what we should and shouldn't do, what works. Most of those are decaying in front of our eyes. It's almost like the SEO playbook is like some scene from uh, Marvel, where they're just poof, snap happens, and the rules are fading away. So tell me now, as marketers, we're left sitting here going, okay, what now? Like, what do we measure? We've been told we've got these beautiful dashboards measuring keywords and, all these things, one, two, three, nice, clean dashboards. Now they're fading away, and you're telling us new things we have to measure. So I have two questions for you here. One, how do we, what's your advice to marketers who now have to recreate their dashboards? And then two, the goalpost just moved. And we have to explain that to the C-suite. That, yeah, I've been giving you this report for years, but now we have to change. How does a marketer approach this?
Well, so there's a lot buried in that question, right? So if we back up a little bit, ultimately what we've always been doing is like basically capturing organic demand. Like that's what SEO was about. There are people who are in market who are signaling that they're in market and they have intent to buy the types of products that you sell. And the easiest way to capture that organic demand was on Google, and it's still on Google, right? Like when we talk about organic traffic declining, it's declining down to like maybe 80% of what it was. So if you just take that 80% number, which is a ballpark guesstimate, right? But if you take that 80% number, what that means is like the old rules of SEO still apply. Like we're still doing those things. The difference is you're going to get 80% of the return instead of 100% of the return that you used to get. So that 80% is still significant. I want to say that, but we expect that it'll change like over time, right? But back when it was 100%, it was you were able to do your organic demand capture very easily with like just by churning out sometimes shitty SEO content and get a lot of people to land on your website. The other thing you were able to do was to show your leadership that numbers were up and to the right because the traffic was up and to the right. So part of what we need to do as marketers when it comes to educating our leadership on the numbers they're going to see going forward and what they can expect from digital marketing going forward is, I hate to say it, but it's almost like the organic traffic numbers that we were all excited about weren't as meaningful as we all thought they were. Because in a lot of cases, like when you dig into it, it was the wrong traffic. A lot of it was top of funnel for the wrong keywords, which really boils down to the wrong search intents. So much of it didn't convert at the end of the day. I'm working with so many clients who have organic traffic going down, but their sales are actually going up.
Yes.
And the reason why is because we're working with them to target the right search intent. And here's another piece that's really important, which is like when we talk about AI or let's say Google's AI overview stealing traffic, the type of traffic that Google's AI overviews is stealing is that top of funnel informational traffic that didn't convert in the first place, right? Yes. Like we were happy to convert, we were happy to like cookie those people, grab their email address, hit them up for when they're ready to buy. We were also happy to just get that brand visibility so that we're in the consideration set when those folks are in market eventually for the type of product or service that we sell. So there was value there, but that wasn't the traffic that was converting immediately, because there was always a disconnect between the way marketers thought about SEO as a direct response channel and what it was actually doing, which was when the traffic was up to the right, the new traffic you were adding was not converting on the first visit or even that highly qualified. But I'll leave it there since it was a big question.
Marketers and sales leaders, if you want to close more deals and drive real revenue growth, you need cash. And I don't mean money. I'm talking about my new book, Cash, the 4 keys to better sales, smarter marketing, and a supercharged revenue machine. It gives you a proven framework to improve the 4 areas that impact revenue the most: communication, alignment, systems, and honesty. you need a stronger sales and marketing engine, and this book will show you how to build it. Get your copy now at aleejudge.com/cash. Now, back to the content. That's something that as I talk to sales and marketing teams and consult, part of what I talk about is their honesty of what they're reporting on. And marketers, well, if a company doesn't have a strong alignment between marketing and sales and leadership, then those departments are able to keep reporting on things that look good for them. So if I'm a marketer and I have reports that are always up and to the right, the leadership structure has to give me the grace to be able to say, look, things are changing, things are down and to the right because we're measuring the wrong thing. Now that's where it gets difficult, because people sometimes have their jobs tied to these KPIs that no longer make sense. And they may even know that this isn't driving business, it's just driving my departmental or personal KPIs.
Wow, that is such a good point, because so many of us think of our jobs as traffic up and to the right. And that's really what needs to change. And it's going to change whether we like it or not. And I wouldn't say that your job is to optimize for a different metric, because really your job has always been to optimize for customer acquisition or revenue growth or business growth, whatever it is that you need to be doing. Maybe you're at a startup and it's all about doing experiments to get to product market fit, but that's always been the real goal. But what I would say we should be focusing on, just career-wise, is getting good at educating our leadership around the changes that you and I are talking about, and seeing that as our job. And that's hard, but it's necessary. It's necessary for us to demonstrate the value that we're delivering, and also to make sure that we get the resources we need as the landscape shifts, like as the technology shifts out from under us. Because we all know leadership wants what leadership wants, and a lot of what they want is what we've trained them to want over the last decade. That's on us. So we need to just refocus on our role of educating the folks in our organization and make sure that we've got those talking points, make sure that we understand what's changing, what's known, what's not known, because there's so many unknowns. Like when I say that to people in my workshops, they're like, Dale, I get it. I need to educate my managers, educate my leadership, but I don't know what's next. But nobody does, right? Like there's so much that's known and unknown, but that's what you need to be honest about and make sure that they understand.
You know, we have a luxury, I guess, in my company, because I'm not only a marketing operations expert, but I'm also the owner of this company. Whereas sometimes we just totally stop doing things that we know don't work, and we watch some dashboard report just get decimated. Like, you know, we've done things that have taken our reports of website traffic and just cut it in half, because we realized something was happening that shouldn't have. Like there was some web page getting lots of hits, but would never lead to a sale. So we removed the web page, the traffic goes down, but the business goes up. Now, as a small company, we can make those cuts. Nobody has to explain, like, well, boss, here's why the thing I've been tracking just got ruined, because we know we did it on purpose. And I always feel for marketers who are in those positions, who know they should make these changes, but also know it's going to ruin this thing that they hung their hats on. And that's a tough place, I think, for any business to be, for any marketer to be in right now.
Yeah, well, a lot of times marketers feel like their job is to do the right thing. Well, I'll just stop there for effect, right? And in addition to doing the right thing, you need to be able to explain the right thing and persuade your leadership on the right thing. And that's your real job. And sometimes you know the right thing to do, but you just can't get past the culture or whatever barriers are in place in your organization to do what you know is right. And that's what you need to work. You need to see that as your skill set as a marketer, that communication, persuasion, education. And it's not a one-time thing. It's not like, hey, I walk into my boss's office, here's how things are going to be going forward. Awesome. Now I have free reign to experiment with this stuff and moving forward. It's like, no, your job is in every communication to make sure that you're bringing them along with you as you figure out what's next and what you need to be doing differently. And make sure that you have the leeway to experiment around the unknowns.
That's the key, the leeway to not only experiment, but to get in those meetings and learn. Because what I find is marketers often don't have the language of sales or of the C-suite to explain themselves. Like you said, they must explain these changes, but if their language is still what I call markety, like they're talking likes and follows and things, but the C-suite doesn't understand the connection between their marketing tactic or campaign and how it moves the needle in business. Like I could say, for example, if I were a marketer in my company, I would say, hey, Lee, we're going to have to remove this page because it's messing up our numbers. It's driving up website traffic, but that doesn't mean anything to business. We need to know who actually is converting, who's going through a path to our purchase page. And this web page is messing it up. So we're going to take this page down. Warning, you're going to lose about 30% traffic, but that didn't matter because we're looking at business and our goal is not web traffic. Our goal is business. That explanation to an owner or a C-suite makes sense, but too many marketers, their language stops at talking about analytics in a marketing sphere and not how it affects business.
Well, yeah, because they don't have a understanding or like appreciation of what the business leaders care about. So you and I, Lee, you and I run businesses, right? And you could imagine somebody coming to us and saying, hey, I spent all week on this project and you're going to love the outcome. It's like, awesome. What did you do? Well, I posted this video and it got 50,000 likes. I'm going on vacation because this is awesome. High fives, 50,000 likes. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, can I pay you in 50,000 likes? Is that how you're going to pay your rent? Is that how I'm going to pay my mortgage? I do not understand why we're excited about that. There was a time at my business where we were generating a ton of leads for every webinar we did, every event we went to. It was hundreds, sometimes thousands of leads. Mm-hmm. And none of them were converting, right? Mm-hmm. So I turned to my team and I said, I don't want you to ever mention a lead number to me ever again because I don't care. Like I want to know how many qualified leads and how many new customers we acquired, and I want to know how much our monthly recurring revenue we just added, right? Like I want metrics that we actually care about. But Lee, I totally get what you're saying. Is a lot of time marketers get excited about a metric like likes, right? And that's a vanity metric. I'm sorry. It's an indicator that there's some interest, maybe. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it's fake. But traffic is the same thing, where sometimes it's the right traffic, sometimes it's not. Mm-hmm. So traffic up and to the right, what does that really mean? Not a lot. I've been saying this for years before AI. And now that traffic is going down and brands are seeing, if they're doing the right thing, brands are seeing revenue actually go up. They're like, hey, wait a minute. Like we thought traffic meant more revenue. What's going on? It's like, well, those things were never as correlated as you thought.
Mm. Yeah, I have a video we're actually in production right now. It's called Stop Measuring. And I don't mean to exactly stop all measurement, but I'm encouraging them to understand the difference between a micro measurement, like a like or follow, may be a micro measurement of that piece of content, because you want to know if your content works or not, but that's a micro measurement. But to get to what we talked about a moment ago, what management cares about, I always encourage marketers to get into the meetings, get into the sales meetings, get into the meetings with the C-suite if possible, and listen to what matters to them so you don't make the mistake of reporting on likes to a C-suite executive.
So then, Lee, what do you say to a marketer who's like, I don't know how to do that. Like, that's not even my job. My job is to create high quality content, or my job is to optimize the website. It's not my job to optimize the business.
Then you'll end up saying it's not my job. Like, I don't have a job. So here's my answer to that. Because I've been in this, that job in that office, it's not my job because I got fired. So here's my advice, because I've been in that position many times. And it was the kind of the depth of why I wrote the book, Cash. As a marketer, whatever you have to do to get into those meetings, it's almost like your company speaks a language and you don't know the language that's being spoken in that part of the company unless you are immersed in it for a moment for meetings. So if I'm a content marketer and my job is to create content, but yet I don't understand how I'm being measured, I may say something like, "Hey, boss, I'm working on a piece about this new product. Can I sit in the sales meeting, sit in and see what's being talked about so I can understand the customer better? I can understand the objections that we're getting from the customer so I can write better content." Meanwhile, my other ulterior motive is to be there and listen to see what measurement matters to the executives. Because if I create the most amazing piece of content and it doesn't affect any of those sales business figures, then my job life shelf life is limited. So every marketer needs to do whatever they can to get their ear into a sales meeting, a leadership meeting. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves talking a language like likes and follows that doesn't matter to the executive.
Yeah, I love that. So I agree with all of that. There's also another scenario where there are marketers where the leadership is telling them what the leadership wants, where they'll say, you're a content marketer, and what we want out of our content is sales. So we want you to
Right.
sell, whatever, however many units of this service or however many widgets by the end of the month. And the marketers are thinking, well, but I don't know how to do that. I know how to write content. I know how to get eyeballs on the content. I know how to make sure the content is high quality by whatever definition they make up, right? But I don't know how to actually do customer acquisition with content. And that's a really tough place to be, because that means that I'm trying not to be too harsh, but you're in a different profession than you think you're in. Basically, like you're in the wordsmithing profession in some cases, not the marketing profession, because marketing is about generating customers for a business, and that can be really tough. And there are a lot of businesses that hired content marketers or other types of like technical creatives that think they're aligned on the purpose of the job, like what the job is for, but they're not. Like, we've all seen this when you work with a creative that acts more like an artist than a let's say a business oriented marketing creative, and that can be really tough.
I was in a conversation on a private thread community recently. Someone was looking through resumes of marketers, and they were just like what you said. They weren't really ready to be marketers. They came from a creative space. And my
Yeah.
hypothesis is that in the past 10 years, especially over COVID, we had lots of people who became social media experts. And because they were good on Instagram, they labeled themselves as marketers. And now they're applying for jobs as marketers, when in reality, they may be social media creators and don't understand the job of marketing. And I don't know if they do get a marketing job, how long lived that job will be unless they learn more about the business.
Yeah, I mean, one quick example of that, I mean, there are folks out there who are really good at getting eyeballs onto videos on video feeds, like the right thumbnails, the right topics, all of that. But that's very different from optimizing a video channel to target an ICP and convert that ICP into taking action, into basically moving to the next stage of your funnel. Like, those can be opposing forces, right? So if you're a business owner, maybe a CMO, and you hire somebody who has expertise around TikTok or YouTube channels or something like that, you're actually hiring the wrong expertise, because they're going to be really good at building subscribers, but it's going to take you a while, and you're going to spend a lot of money before you realize that those subscribers don't convert into customers.
Well, Dale, man, I got to pause for that for a moment, because businesses beware. A lot of your marketers are excellent at a tactic of getting eyeballs, but not getting business. So that's a strong point that I hope everybody takes home on that, because I believe in it. So Dale, before we close out, can you give us like I said, you're my go-to SEO person. So give me For the marketers who are worried about or trying to understand where to go next, what is Dale Bertrand's State of the Union address for SEO today?
Well, I got into SEO like 15 years ago when it felt like the Wild Wild West. It felt like nobody really knew how to do technical optimization and link building and building the right content. And then the social aspect of it, like how does it fit in the organization so that you can get all the resources that you need to actually make SEO happen. And the reason why it was fun was because we had to figure it out as we went along. And there was a lot of experimentation and the field was just wide open. Interestingly, that's a lot of like what it feels like right now. So I feel like we had this period of time where people allowed themselves the delusion that SEO was all figured out. And then all of a sudden it's different. And I'm thinking to myself, awesome, like it's fun again. We get to figure out this new technology. We get to figure out how to use the new technology. We get to figure out how the search platforms are using the technology. We get to brainstorm some new campaign ideas, some new content formats. We get to A/B test a bunch of things, try out all those content formats and strategies that we came up with to see what works. And that's what SEO has always been.
Wonderful. Well, Dale, you're a road warrior. Where can we find you? Where can we learn more from you? Because I promise anyone who catches Dale at an event, that's the session you want to go to. That's the workshop you want to go to, because you will come out learning tremendous amount of information and feeling better about where you're heading in your marketing career. So Dale, where can we find you and connect with you?
So I post a bunch on LinkedIn, Dale Bertrand, my feed on LinkedIn. And then I also have my website, Fire&Spark.com. And if anybody wants to talk or you want me to take a look at your website, I'm Dale, D-A-L-E, at Fire&Spark.com. So I'm happy to give away my email address too. And happy to talk to folks.
Excellent. Thanks again, Dale. And thanks to the listeners. If you're listening to the podcast and want to see Dale and I, video of the podcast and others are available in the podcast section of contentmonster.com. Catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Marketing podcast, a show brought to you by ContentMonster.com, the producer of B2B digital marketing content. Show notes can be found on ContentMonster.com, as well as aleejudge.com.